Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Chloe and today's video is super fun. It's not going to sound like it, but I promise it is. It is on how I built my credit from the ground up. And what I mean by that is I refused to get a credit card until I was 19. I was terrified I was going to ruin my credit. And so I basically started from square one at 19, and I now at 21, like a week away from 22, but at 21, I have a 736 credit score, and it is very doable. And I know that you're gonna be like, how is this fun? But I promise you credit is like a game whenever you get well-versed in utilizing your credit in the right way. So I'm gonna go into exactly how I did it, and how to make it something that's not so scary, but rather something that you can work towards, because we use credit for literally everything and it is so important. And whenever I made my Amex video, I did get some how did you build your credit questions. So I thought it would be a great time to finally make this video. But before I get into the video, I do have a tea of the day. I'm gonna grab it really quick. So it looks disgusting, it really does, but I tried. I don't know if you guys have had a honey citrus mint tea from Starbucks, but it's one of my favorite drinks. I get it all the time. And so I had lemonade in my fridge and I had honey in my cabinet and then like a random tea bag, and I microwaved it all together. And it's white tea with honey and lemonade microwaved. So this is what it looks like. Kind of looks like pee if you haven't drank enough water in a long time. It smells kind of good. Not gonna lie, it smells kind of good. This is delicious. Not often do I say that. Usually I make really gross teas on accident. This is really good. I highly recommend this. Okay, really quick, before I get into the video, I want to say one more thing about the tea. The only thing is that there's like chunks in it because of the lemonade, because I like pulp lemonade, and I don't know how I feel about that part, but other than that, it is really good. All right, so before I get into how I built my credit, I think a lot of people who are like new to credit kind of see credit cards as free money that you'll pay back one day. And the reason why that is not what credit is because everything that you spend you do owe, and then there's usually interest on that. I don't know if back in the day there wasn't secured cards, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like a lot of like 30s, 40s generations, like today, people in their 30s and 40s will say that they got a bunch of credit cards, spent a bunch of money, and then like thought they'd pay it back, and now they're in massive debt. And I don't really see how you could do that these days, because you do need to open a secured card in order to start building your credit. But yeah, that's gonna be the first thing I guess that I'll talk about, is getting a secured card. So in order to open a secured card, you're going to want a bank account, and you can open a debit card with literally any bank that offers it. I would just use a trusted one. You can ask your friends or parents or whatever, like what they use. And usually like you shouldn't have any issues with your bank account. I have used Wells Fargo, I've used Chase, and they're both really good. I've had no issues with them. I did end up going with Wells Fargo over Chase because I personally liked the customer service side better whenever I ran into issues with my card or needed help troubleshooting stuff. I just was like comparing them, and I always liked Wells Fargo a little bit more, but you know, do whatever's best for you, of course. I just personally was like, this is a good company. But yeah, so that would be the first thing, is have a bank account, because you're going to need to put down money for your first credit card. So a secured card is kind of like a savings account. It's not a savings account, but that would be the best way to describe it to somebody who's never had one. A secured card is going to be a card that you're going to take money from your debit card or from your savings account, and then you're going to put it onto a card that you're going to be able to use as your credit card. So you apply to a secured card. My first secured one, my only secured one, was Capital One, and I still have Capital One. I have since used a credit card with them quite often, actually. I really like their bank account system, because whenever you put money into the checking account, it actually accumulates interest over time. So you get money for just letting your money sit there. And that is a side note, but I do like Capital One if you guys don't really know where to start with that. You're probably looking at between $200 and $500 for your secured card. What you're gonna do is you're basically gonna apply, then you're gonna get approved, And then once you do, they're gonna ask you to give them the money that you're gonna be borrowing from yourself. So let's say, like for me, with Capital One, it was $200. I know a lot of people spend like $500 though, and I did not want to do that. I still have not closed my account, so I haven't gotten the money back, but when you close your secured card account, you do get that money that you put in back, which does not happen with any other credit card because you will never be usually putting down money for a credit card again unless it has an annual fee, which is a whole other story. If you guys have questions about like annual fees, you can feel free to drop them down below, but that's not what this is gonna be about. So you should typically never have to spend money for your credit card other than your first, which is gonna be your secured card. So the growth of your credit is gonna take a lot of time, and you just gotta have patience because it's not going to come overnight. And credit is something that you build from basically proving that you can return money that you borrowed. So what you're gonna wanna do for your first month of having this card is you're gonna wanna spend about half of the limit. So let's say you're in my shoes and it's $200, you're gonna spend $100. You can spend it on gas, on school books, on groceries, whatever. And then you just let that sit there until your first bill comes. And then whenever your first bill comes, you pay half of it. You don't pay the entire $100 that you spent. You let the other half, which would be $50, carry on to the next month, because then the next month you're gonna pay off that other amount plus the interest that you've incurred. And you wanna do that because you're showing the credit card companies that you're a good credit risk and that you're gonna pay back the debt that you've incurred. It also shows them that you can handle credit debt, which a lot of people can't. So it sounds like a simple thing, like, oh, just, you know, spend $100 now, pay $50, then pay the other $50, plus, let's say it's like 20% interest, then let's say you have to pay an extra $10 the next month. You're just showing them that you can handle that debt, and it's not a bad kind of debt. There's good debt and there's bad debt. That is not a bad kind of debt. So even like people who have perfect credit, they typically have a good amount of outstanding debt. And a good kind of debt would be like home ownership or a car loan. That does not look bad on debt so long as you're always doing your payments. Now, you don't want a car loan, like ideally, but a lot of us have them. So those are the good kinds of debt that show that you can pay stuff on time. A bad kind of debt would be doing like $1,000 shopping spree at Victoria's Secret and then like not paying it on time. That would be very bad debt. So I know that that's a little confusing, like good versus bad debt. But the difference is that one of them usually is so big that you're paying it off over time. And the other one is like an impulsive purchase that you made that you can't manage the payments for. This is super, super important. You never want to be late on a bill for your credit cards. And I know that that's a little bit hard, but I would say that if there's any chance that you could make sure that you're never late on a payment, you're going to be solid, because really that's going to help your credit score more than almost anything is late payments. And that's a huge, huge thing that credit companies take into consideration when you're applying to cards with them, is if you have outstanding debt, how much, and if you do your payments on time. The next really big thing that I would recommend is to never use over 30% of your credit limit. So credit utilization is basically like how much money they're allowing you to spend. So to put this in simplest terms, if you have a $300 limit on your secured card, you don't want to spend over $100 because it doesn't look good. That's another pretty big factor, is credit utilization. So you don't want to utilize way too much of your credit. I always keep mine under 20%. And I think mine right now is like 13% between all my cards. And I did have a big auto repair thing that I had to do, so I opened a credit card with them for that. There's all kinds of reasons why we have different kinds of debt. It just matters that you're paying it on time and that you're not maxing out your cards, because that will really hurt your credit more than a lot of other things could, is spending more than 30%. So in about 2 months to a year, you're gonna get a slight increase in your secured card, or you will be offered a unsecured card. So basically that is like most credit cards. And you want to have that happen because you want to get your money back, and you also don't want a secured card forever. Your best bet at getting approved for bigger and better and nicer cards is having a bigger credit limit between all of your cards. And you can't really do that, if you think about it, if you have like a $500 credit limit. And that is a start. Like, there's nothing wrong with if you just keep your secured card forever if you wanted to. If that's your goal, if you're cool with that, that is totally fine. But if you want to build your credit to something that you could use to buy a home or a car, then you would probably want to shop around at cards that are going to give you like $7,000 credit limit, something like that. So now that you have your actual non-secured credit card, you can close that account if you want to. But the only catch to that is that that is going to be your longest credit line. So once you close your credit line, like your longest one, it's kind of like you don't have a lot of established credit. So that's why I've always kept mine open, because that is my longest credit line that I've had, is my secured card. So I still have that one. I have to say, like in all my videos, I only know what I know. And honestly, I have no idea at this point in my credit if it would hurt my credit to close it. But out of thinking ahead, I just don't, because what if it did? You really don't need over 5 cards total. I personally have 7, but that is because I applied for a few cards that were gonna like highly increase my credit limit, my total credit limit, but I don't actually use them. And a couple of things that I like to do when it comes to my credit is I like to leave like 5 of my cards to the side, and then I use my Amex card to get points, and I pay all of the purchases that I buy with that card back at the end of the month with my debit card. So I'm getting money back from my money that I'm spending. And then I use the other cards like once every 2 months, that they don't close the account on me, because that's also not a good look whenever they close an account on you. You don't want that to happen. I do want to talk about something really quick, because this is a really big thing that people kind of fall into this rabbit hole of, which is retail credit cards. So I don't know if you've ever been to like TJ Maxx, Forever 21, what else? Victoria's Secret is a huge one. And they will come at you with the best sales pitch of like, you're gonna get 20% off, you're gonna get 5% back on all your purchases, but they do that a lot to people who have never opened a credit card, and you're not going to get approved. So what that does to your credit, and I did not know this when I first started building credit, but it's called a hard inquiry every time that you apply for a card that you don't get approved for. And you do not want hard inquiries on your account, like a bunch of them. And a lot of us end up in that hole of like 7 hard inquiries because we just applied to cards and thought somebody would approve us. But the problem is that it doesn't work like that. It unfortunately shows up on our credit report as us being declined for a bunch of cards, and that can hurt your credit too. So if you don't have somewhat established credit, like with a secured card, I would say give it like 8 months. I would not apply for retail credit cards, because they will sell you hard on it. And then you'll be like, this is a good deal. But then next thing you know, you have like 5 hard inquiries on your account or on your credit history. And it's not good. I don't recommend it. I wouldn't do it if you don't need to. And if you're ever in the situation where you need to open a credit card, then this is gonna sound a little cold-blooded, but you probably don't have the money for the item that you're trying to get if you need a credit card to get it. So I always only spend on credit cards what I have in my bank account to pay back. So even if my bank account was at 0 after I paid it back, at least I had the money to pay it back. And that is a big thing I would recommend. So the last piece of advice I've kind of already touched on, but I always ask for credit increases. And I do this because whenever you have a bigger overall credit limit, you get approved for better cards, and you could always go back and close your cards. So let's say that your second credit card that was an unsecured credit card is like a $500 limit, which they do that. And a lot of times they won't increase your overall limit. And then you get approved for another card that's gonna give you like $2,500 credit. you might want to close that other credit card because it's not really benefiting you anymore. So that's kind of how I look at that. I have actually not closed any credit cards yet, and that is because I kind of rotate through them. Now, I don't touch a couple of them, but I do rotate through a few of them because only certain bills or certain groceries that I get can I use certain cards at. And I do like that most of my cards give me cash back, even if it's just a little. So I like to rotate through my credit cards pretty much purely for cash back. So I'm gonna wrap up this video with just saying that, you know, credit is so hard. It is not easy because we all fall into this mindset a lot of the time of I will be able to pay it back even if I can't now. And that's gonna just hurt your credit. You will not build credit that way. I hate to tell you, but that is the truth of it, is credit is something that takes a lot of diligent planning and kind of hard work. It's not easy to have good credit, and that's why so many people don't have good credit, because we'll make a purchase here and be like, I'll pay back the TV later, or, you know, around the holidays, we buy a bunch of stuff because it's on sale, and it's like, you just have to be aware of what you're spending and if you have the money to pay it back when the time comes to pay it back. Because even if you're like, okay, I'll carry my balance until the next month, you probably just incurred a ton of interest, and that's for you to decide if that's something that you want to do. But I can tell you, you'll lose a lot more money than you gain in sales and in cashback bonuses if you're carrying your balance for a bunch of months. You only really want to carry a balance when you're starting to build your credit. And then once it's pretty established, you're chilling, you can just kind of leave it how it is and you should be good. And that's what I've done, and it has helped me immensely in my credit. And I really hope that this has helped you guys. I don't know a whole bunch about credit. All I know is what I've done and what's worked for me. And if you guys have any questions, as always, feel free to comment them down below and I'm happy to get back to you. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in my next video. All right, bye.